Go ahead. If you're so brave, just leave, my sister mocked me, saying I wouldn't last a week without them. I didn't argue. I calmly set the house keys down on the Christmas dinner table and walked away. By the very next day, they were panicking, calling me nonstop with 66 missed calls. That's when their entire empire began to fall apart. You know those Christmas dinners? The ones that are supposed to be all warmth and magic? Mine turned into a battlefield the moment my sister, Madison, leaned across the table, wine glass in hand, her smile sharp enough to cut the twinkling lights strung above us. She looked straight at me and sneered, "Go ahead, just leave. You wouldn't last a week without us." And in that moment, something inside me didn't just splinter, it shattered. Everyone at that table, the whole Holt clan, they just watched. They expected me to shrink, to apologize, to do what I always did. But something was different this time. Instead, I reached for the keys, the house keys, the car keys, the ones they all thought were theirs. I laid them gently on the linen cloth, and the click was so soft I almost missed it. But Madison? Her smile froze solid. My parents, they saw me too. I just walked past their perfect Christmas tree, glowing red and gold, and stepped right out into the brutal cold night. Behind me, I could almost hear their laughter collapse into stunned silence. Oh, but by sunrise? That silence was gonna be pure panic. I didn't grab a coat. Didn't pack a bag, didn't take a single thing except my phone and this tiny envelope my mother had slipped into my hand 2 days before she died. Not yet, she'd whispered then, you'll know when to open it. I never really understood why she looked so serious, but I thought of her words as I let the snow swallow my footsteps. That house behind me, it glowed with all those perfect Christmas lights, just the way my family liked to appear. I knew my father, Richard, was already probably frowning because I wasn't sticking to his script. My mother, Claudia, would be pretending her wine glass wasn't shaking from anger. And Madison? She wanted a scene. She wanted to see me fold. But that satisfaction? She didn't get it. The air burned my cheeks as I walked down the driveway, but it felt cleaner, so much cleaner, than anything inside that house. My breath turned white in the night, rising and disappearing like ghosts. I didn't know where I was going, didn't need to. I just needed to get away before the part of me still trained to obey them tried to sit back down. It was so strange, walking away from the place I grew up. A place where I was useful, but never valued. Where I paid bills I never saw, signed papers I never read, and carried responsibilities that were never truly mine, all because I was the dependable one. Now I knew, dependable was just another word for controllable. My hands started shaking by the time I hit the end of the street. Not from fear, but from pure, raw relief. Other cars passed, warm families inside, silhouettes looking whole and happy. That could have been us in another life. But the Holt family? We were never whole. We were a performance, held together by image, reputation, and the delusion that we were above the rules. But even the best performances crack, right? I walked for almost an hour, eventually stopping at a small park near downtown. The swings were empty, the snow on the benches untouched. But I sat anyway, brushing off a thin layer of frost. My legs tingled from the cold, but I didn't move. My phone kept buzzing, once, twice, again. I just ignored it. Around midnight, I pulled my knees to my chest and watched the snow fall in slow spirals. The quiet was comforting, thick and gentle. For the first time in years, I felt like I could truly breathe without having to measure the room. I started thinking about my mother, Evelyn. She was the calm in our storm, gentle, soft-spoken, incredibly intelligent in a way she never flaunted. She always seemed to stand half a step behind my father, supporting his decisions. But I always watched her, really watched her. Her eyes were sharp, knowing, always assessing the things no one dared to say aloud. Her death a year ago had left a huge hole in the family, but not the way my father liked to dramatize it. For him, it wasn't grief, it was pure inconvenience. My mother had quietly run the entire Holt household, finances, paperwork, property, schedules. When she died, all those systems fell to me. Not because I volunteered, but because Madison refused, and my father wouldn't. Before she passed, my mother whispered, "Everything is already arranged. You just need to hold it together until the time is right." I assumed she meant emotionally. I was so wrong. My phone buzzed again. And again. I finally flipped it over. 18 missed calls from my father, 14 from my mother, 34 from Madison. A tight, humorless laugh escaped me. They weren't worried about me. They were worried about losing control. My family only ever used affection as a tool, never as a truth. My car was still in their driveway, and I had nowhere to go. I just needed distance, any space that didn't reek of cedar-scented candles and their endless expectations. The wind rustled through the trees, and for a moment, it felt like my mother was right there beside me. She'd always loved winter, the quiet stillness of it. She used to say, "Snow makes the world honest. Nothing can hide under that clean white hush." I didn't know then how much truth the snow would actually reveal. As I reached Main Street, my phone buzzed again, but this time it was a text from an unknown number. I'm awake if you need somewhere to go. LG. LG, Linda Graves. My mother's lawyer. I hadn't spoken to her since the will reading, where she'd seemed almost expectant. She'd shaken my hand too warmly then, looked into my eyes too long, and said, "Your mother trusted you more than anyone." Back then, it felt comforting. Now, it felt like a warning. I texted back, "I'm okay. Just needed space." Her reply was instant, "I know. But you should come by tomorrow. There are things you need to see." A cold shiver traced its way down my spine. Things I needed to see. I felt dangerously awake. That little envelope in my coat pocket seemed to heat against my palm, like it was urging me to open it right there. But the street was dark and empty, and something told me this wasn't the right moment. Not yet. My mother had always understood timing. I walked back toward downtown, past closed shops and glowing windows. An old brick cafe still had its lights on. I slipped inside, just so grateful for the warmth. The barista, without a word, handed me a steaming mug of peppermint tea. I sat near the window, watching the snow thicken. Then, around 1:17 a.m., my phone vibrated again. Not a call this time. A message from Madison? "You think you're hurting us? You're pathetic. Come home before you embarrass yourself." I stared at her words for a long moment. Then I just turned my phone off. People always talked about holiday magic, how December softened the world, brought families closer. But magic had never touched the Holt family. Something else was coming though. A reckoning. I finished my tea, wiped my hands, and stepped back outside. The cold didn't sting as much now. I still didn't know where I was going, but for the very first time in my life, I knew exactly where I wasn't going. Home. Not that home. Not ever again. The snow whispered as it fell, soft and unburdened. I lifted my face, letting it melt against my skin. In that quiet moment, surrounded by a town wrapped in Christmas lights, something unfamiliar bloomed inside my chest. Freedom. My mother had prepared me for this. I didn't know how or why yet, but tomorrow I would. Tomorrow I'd go to Linda Graves' office. Tomorrow I'd open that envelope. And by the time the sun rose again, their perfect little empire, built on image and ego and my unquestioning obedience, would already be starting to crack. Tomorrow, everything would change. I woke up in the hollow quiet of a hotel room I hadn't planned to sleep in. My phone was face down on the nightstand, almost dead from a night of unanswered calls. But for the first time in my adult life, the silence didn't feel oppressive. It felt earned. I sat up slowly. The memories of the night before came rushing back. I wasn't fragile. I wasn't impulsive. I had simply reached the absolute end of a line they'd spent years drawing around me. The clock read 8:03 a.m. when I finally picked up my phone. It buzzed instantly. 46 missed calls, 11 text messages, 3 voicemails. A family group chat was practically exploding. And a new message from my father, timestamped 6:14 a.m. "Come home now. We need to talk." No greeting. No concern. Just the pure urgency of a man who'd realized something wasn't working in his favor. Another message followed. "Where are you? We need access to the utilities. The bank account link isn't working." I just closed my eyes. Of course. Of course that would be the first thing to unravel. My father managed our household the way he managed everything else in his life, by pretending to be in control while forcing someone else to do the actual work. For 2 years, I had been that someone. Why would he bother to learn it when I existed? But systems built on assumptions? They fall apart fast. I silenced another incoming call and finally got up. My phone buzzed again. It was my mother, or rather, Claudia Holt, the woman who gave birth to me but never quite managed to mother me. "Meredith, this is ridiculous. Your father can't access the mortgage portal. Call back immediately." Then another, "And your sister is hysterical. Whatever point you think you're making, drop it." My mother always had this talent for minimizing anything she didn't understand. It was easier for her to pretend my leaving was some inconvenient tantrum than the result of years of quiet injuries. I just slipped the phone back into my pocket and kept walking. Linda's office was at the edge of the historic district. I stepped inside, brushing snow from my boots. The receptionist looked up, recognition sparking in her eyes. "Meredith, Miss Graves is expecting you." Go right in. Expecting me. Not just accommodating me, but expecting me. That sent a chill down my spine. I walked down the short hallway, my pulse quickening. The door to Linda's office was ajar. I tapped once before entering. She was standing by the window. "You came," she said warmly. "Good. Sit." I sat. For a few seconds, she just studied me, the way my mother used to, attentive, perceptive. Then she nodded to my coat pocket. "You brought the envelope." I swallowed hard and pulled it out. "Before you open that," she said, "you need context. Things your mother arranged. Things she asked me to handle when the time came." I leaned forward, my palms cold. "Linda, what is this about?" She pulled out a thick file secured with a black ribbon. When Evelyn came to me 5 years ago, it wasn't just for estate planning. She said it was for protection. Your protection, specifically. My breath caught. Protection. Your mother was a brilliant woman, Linda continued. She saw the way the family leaned on you, the way they dismissed your contributions while exploiting your reliability. She feared it would escalate after her death. So she made changes. Large ones. Linda set the file on the table and untied the ribbon. Meredith, everything your family thinks they own? They don't. I just stared at her. What do you mean? She opened the file. Property deeds, account documents, corporate records, pages and pages, each one bearing a name printed clearly at the top. My name. All of it. My throat went bone dry. Linda, this can't be right. It is. Your mother transferred ownership gradually, intentionally, and legally. The house, the secondary property in Birch Hollow, the holiday cabin on Glacier Road, the investment accounts, the family trust. All of it held under your name with protective clauses preventing anyone else from accessing or transferring assets without your explicit consent. I just blinked. The words floated around me, utterly surreal. She never told me, I whispered. She couldn't, Linda said gently. Your mother understood your family dynamic. If she'd revealed her plans too soon, someone would have found a way to sabotage them. She needed you to stay unaware until you walked out. Linda nodded. She knew there would be a breaking point. All she asked was that when it came, I step in. I sat back slowly, my pulse thundering in my ears. The Holt family empire, the one they flaunted around town, the one they used to measure worth, had never truly belonged to them. It belonged to me. My phone buzzed again. I just ignored it. And now, Linda said, sliding a smaller envelope across the table, you can open your mother's letter. My hands trembled as I broke the seal. The faint, familiar scent of lavender rose from the paper. I unfolded it, seeing my mother's graceful handwriting. My dearest Meredith, if you're reading this, then you've finally done the thing I always prayed you would do. Walk away. You deserved better. Long before today. I swallowed hard. My mother's voice came alive in every curve of ink, gentle, steady, patient. The voice of someone who had waited a long time for me to finally see myself clearly. I know Madison resents your gentleness, the letter continued. I know your father uses your reliability to excuse his failures. And I know your mother, yes, even me, expected too much from you for too long. But you're stronger than all of us. My breath hitched. I read on. There are truths you don't yet know. Truths I entrusted to Linda. She will show you everything. She will help you protect what is yours. And when the time comes, when the veil finally lifts and the family realizes what they've lost, you must not let guilt pull you back. Even love has limits. Tears blurred the ink. Linda waited quietly while I wiped them away. When I finished the letter, my hands were shaking. I pressed it to my chest, just trying to breathe. So, what now? I whispered. What happens next? That depends entirely on what they do, she replied. Your family is currently locked out of all the financial systems. They can't access the house accounts or loans. They'll panic. They'll scramble. And they'll absolutely blame you. A tight, humorless laugh escaped me. That sounds about right. Eventually, Linda said, they'll realize the truth. And when they do, they'll come to you. Not out of love, Meredith, but out of pure dependency. I folded my mother's letter carefully. And I'm supposed to just let them fall apart? You're supposed to let consequences happen, Linda said calmly, her gaze firm. Your mother didn't build a legal fortress, so you could keep holding up people who refuse to stand on their own. Those words struck deep. Then a knock on the office door. The receptionist peeked in. Miss Graves, sorry to interrupt, but Meredith's father is on line 1. He said it's urgent. My blood went ice cold. Don't answer, Linda said softly. Not yet. I nodded. Let me guess, I murmured. They discovered something new this morning. Linda opened another document and slid it toward me. They discovered the house deed. My stomach dropped. Good, she added, almost cheerfully. It accelerates the timeline. Now we wait. They will reveal their intentions soon enough. I straightened in my chair. For the first time since my mother's funeral, I felt anchored. Not lost. Not unsure. Just anchored. Linda leaned back. Your mother used to tell me that your quietness wasn't weakness. It was clarity. You saw more than people realized. I exhaled slowly. Maybe, I whispered. But I don't think they've ever really seen me. Then they're about to, Linda said. My phone buzzed again. This time, a text from Madison. You need to fix this now. I didn't reply. Something inside me shifted, small but seismic. The Holt family had spent years believing I couldn't survive without them. But in the span of one night, the truth had flipped. They needed me. And the collapse had only just begun. Later that day, Madison actually tracked me down at a cafe. She stormed in, furious, yelling about frozen accounts and locked mortgage portals. Her face twisted when I calmly told her that my mother gave me the house. No, she wouldn't do that, she shrieked. But then, As the realization dawned, her eyes widened. Oh my God. Mom planned this. She tried to fight back, to threaten, to bully. But I just looked her in the eye. I didn't take anything from you, I told her. I'm just not carrying you anymore. And I walked out. My phone buzzed again shortly after. It was the county tax office, calling to confirm authorization for my Birch Hollow property. Sole owner, the clerk said. Right. Another message came through from my father. The accountant says your mother transferred the family trust into your name. That can't be legal. Fix this now. He still spoke to me like I was an errand, not a person. Then my mother's plea, Meredith, please. Your father is upset. Your sister is upset. Come home and let's figure this out together. Together. We'd never done anything together. I saved both messages and turned my phone off. There was only one place I needed to go now, the cabin on Glacier Road. My mother's sanctuary, the place she'd told me, in her final weeks, that she hoped I'd return to someday. The place where, according to Linda, more answers waited. When the bus finally dropped me off, the cabin came into view below, small, weathered, half-wrapped in snow. My key, fit perfectly in the lock. Inside, everything felt frozen in time, exactly as she'd left it. I noticed a faint piece of twine tied around the handle of an old wardrobe, just like Mom used to do. Knots were a language most people were too impatient to read, she'd say. My stomach tightened. Inside, hidden beneath folded blankets, was a small, plain maple box. No lock, just a deep groove where her thumb had rested countless times. This was it. I opened it. Inside, neatly labeled envelopes, a USB drive, a small leather-bound notebook, and a printed legal document with her signature. On top, a note. Meredith, if you've reached this box, it means the moment I feared has finally come. I'm sorry. I hoped they might change, but you must see the truth clearly. Love, Mom. I swallowed hard, my hands trembling. The first envelope held bank statements. My handwriting, but for loans I hadn't taken, transfers I hadn't authorized, credit cards I'd never used. My pulse slammed. They had used my name, my identity, my credit. The next envelope? Email printouts. Messages between my father and Madison, discussing redirecting funds, using Meredith's account since she doesn't need them. My father's words burned. She won't fight us. She never does. Madison's. She doesn't even notice half the stuff we put on her cards. Cards. Plural. My chest constricted. Then the USB. Audio files. My mother's voice, calm but unwavering, confronting my father. I know what you're doing. I know you used her name on the loan application. And my father, dismissive. It's just paperwork, Evelyn. She doesn't care about that kind of thing. Besides, it benefits the family. Madison's smooth, cruel voice. Mom, Meredith doesn't need all that money. She doesn't spend anything. She should be grateful she has a purpose. You always baby her. And Mom's quiet reply, I protect her. And I will continue to protect her even from you. Video files showed them, laughing, forging my signature, talking about breathing room and paying me back eventually. Eventually meant never. Then an audio call, my mother speaking to an attorney. She'll need protection. She trusts too easily. She thinks they love her, but they only love what she does for them. And finally, the gut-wrenching truth, I won't live to shield her myself. So, I'm building the wall she'll need. My throat closed. She did this for me. All of this. Alone. While dying. The weight of that sacrifice settled into my bones, heavy and undeniable. The leather-bound notebook was a meticulous record, a record of everything they've done in case Meredith ever needs proof. Forged signatures, unauthorized withdrawals, overheard conversations. They hadn't just taken advantage of my kindness, they had built an entire lifestyle on it. The final document was a notarized letter from Mom. You have a right to protect what is yours. You have a right to say no. I am giving you the tools they hoped you would never have. Be strong. Not for them, but for yourself. A tear fell onto the page. My phone began vibrating violently. 37 missed calls from my father. 22 from my mother. 16 from Madison. And a text from Madison. Dad says the bank froze everything. They said the primary owner must come in person. Did you do this then? You can't do this to us. Come home right now. I looked at the box, at the files, at the proof, at the truth my mother had spent her final strength preserving. I wiped my face, closed the lid, and stood. My voice came out steady, echoing in the empty room. No, Madison. I'm not coming home. You're coming to me. The wind rattled the window pane like applause. I packed the box into my backpack. Tomorrow, the reckoning would begin. The next morning, the sky was a washed-out gray. My phone was still buzzing with increasingly frantic messages. Then a voicemail caught my attention. Cameron Price, our family's accountant. He sounded urgent. I called him back. I assume you know something about the trust and the property transfers, he said. I know everything, I replied. He revealed the full extent of their financial recklessness. Your father and Madison have accumulated significant debt over the last 3 years. They refinanced twice. They leveraged the family home. They took loans under your name. He confirmed the forgeries. The accounts aren't just inaccessible to them, he told me. They're in critical condition. My father's business was weeks from collapse. Madison's credit was ruined. Mom's final savings drained. Your mother was trying to protect you, Cameron said gently, but she also prepared for the day you'd need the truth. He warned me, your family will try everything: guilt, manipulation, threats. But the only way to resolve this legally and financially is for you to distance yourself completely. And then the kicker, my father had scheduled a meeting with an attorney that afternoon, intending to challenge the estate. He'll lose immediately, Cameron said. And he'll be furious. You need protection. Just after we hung up, I heard voices outside. Madison's and Claudia's. They had come for me. Meredith, Madison shouted, pounding on the door. Open this door right now. You destroyed everything. You owe us everything. My blood roared. My mother, in her usual soft, manipulative tone, pleaded, Sweetheart, we're your family? But it was empty. I stood perfectly still, letting them scream. Eventually, the car doors slammed, tires spun, and they sped away. I sank onto the couch, not out of fear, but because I realized how completely I had separated myself. They couldn't reach me anymore. Not through guilt, not through anger, not through need. A line had been drawn. One my mother had prepared. One I had chosen. Linda's office felt different this time, brighter, like a place built for truth. I placed the wooden box on her desk. This, she said quietly, is more than enough. She outlined the plan. You're not to reach out to them. You're not to respond. You do nothing. We observe. We gather. And when the moment comes, we present everything. And that moment is soon. Her desk phone rang. It was the bank manager. My father had already tried to liquidate a joint investment account. Denied. He's losing control, Linda said. Then a fax came through, request for emergency trustee hearing filed by Richard Holt. My father was trying to challenge my ownership. He'll lose immediately, Linda stated firmly. Because 1, your mother created the trust. 2, you never accepted any changes or transfers willingly. And 3, she tapped the wooden box, because we have the truth. Then she pulled out another envelope. Your mother left this with me to give to you only when your family filed a legal challenge. My pulse quickened. Inside, a note from Mom. Meredith, when they challenge you, do not be afraid. You are not alone. You never were. I saw the truth long before you could speak it. And a small USB drive. More recordings, more conversations. My mother had anticipated every move. Linda handed me a template for an emergency restraining order. Just in case. She looked at me, a flicker of pride in her eyes. Your mother was right. You're stronger than you know. I left, walking through the settling snow, feeling the weight of the evidence like armor. My phone buzzed, Madison saying I was in serious trouble and to call her now. I just smiled. Real power didn't shout. It built quietly. It prepared. It endured. Back at the cabin, the voicemails piled up. My father's rage, Madison's panic, my mother's exhausted pleas. But the theme was always the same: we need you. Never, we miss you, never, we love you. Just, we need you. At 5:02 p.m., another text, Mom, your father is furious. Please come calmly. Do not escalate things. Do not escalate. I had only left. They were the ones drowning in consequences. I turned off my phone. My father's final message arrived, delivered by hand to my mailbox. A cold, formal letter threatening legal action, public exposure, and termination of familial support if I didn't comply. I laughed. Family support. They had never supported me. They had used me. And now that the foundation was gone, they were scrambling to intimidate me back. I walked back to the cabin, looked in the mirror. My reflection looked back, tired, yes, but steady, grounded, unafraid. This was the turning point. I gathered my evidence, not to go to them, but to prepare for when they came to me. Because they would. The next day, the formal confrontation happened. At 10:28 a.m., my family walked into Linda's conference room. My father, vibrating with quiet rage. My mother, looking drained, clinging to their attorney. Madison, her confidence cracked, jittery and nervous. Linda began, calmly distributing copies of every document my mother had safeguarded. The projector flashed, forged bank statements, my signature, then another and another. My father's face crumbled, not with guilt, but with fear. Madison stared at the table, cheeks flaming. My mother clutched a tissue. Then Linda played the audio. My mother's voice, weak but steady, confronting them. My father's menacing reply. Madison's cruel justification. The room fell into suffocating silence. Their lawyer tried to object, but Linda shut him down. More evidence, emails, transaction logs, property tax receipts charged to my account. And then the final blow, a A scanned, handwritten letter from my mother, proving she was in full cognitive control when she planned all of this. My father exploded. That woman was not in her right mind. Linda calmly presented her medical evaluations, confirming full clarity. He snapped shut. Linda laid out the truth. Your family leveraged Meredith's name financially and legally for years. They committed fraud. They attempted identity manipulation. In any state, these actions are prosecutable. My mother gasped. Madison whispered, "Oh my God." My father glared at me, hatred and fear tangled. "You," he hissed, "have destroyed this family." I didn't look away. "No," I said, rising to my feet. "You destroyed it. Mom tried to protect me from you, and now I'm protecting myself." He pointed a shaking finger. "You will regret this." Linda stepped between us. "Mr. Holt, this meeting is over." Madison grabbed her purse. "We're not done." "Yes," I said softly, "we are." My mother lingered at the doorway, tears streaming. "Meredith," she whispered, "I'm so sorry." I didn't answer. They left. The door clicked shut. The room felt lighter than it had in years. Linda just smiled. "You handled that perfectly." "No," I whispered. Mom won today, dot. I sat there for a long time, the remnants of their voices lingering. Linda slid a glass of water to me. "Truth cuts on its way out," she said. She wasn't wrong. I'd seen the shock, the fear, the first cracks in their empire. But I also knew my family. They wouldn't go down quietly. Linda warned me to prepare for more aggression. I just nodded. Outside, the winter air was sharp, but it felt clean now. I went to a cafe my mother loved. My phone buzzed endlessly with our calls and texts. My mother's last message, "One day, you'll realize all we ever wanted was what was best for you." I typed back, "I know the difference now between what's best for me and what's best for you." I hit send. No reply. My father's final voicemail came through. "You think this is over? You think you can humiliate us and walk away? You are destroying this family, Meredith. I raised you. I fed you. I sacrificed everything for you. And this is how you repay me. You will regret this." The old fear clawed at me, but I took a steadying breath. He couldn't break me anymore. That night, headlights flashed through the cabin window. My parents' SUV. They were here. My father was red-faced, shouting. Madison, frantic. "Open this door right now. You owe us everything." Panic shot through me. I called Linda. "Do not open the door." "I'm calling the sheriff," she yelled. 5 minutes later, the blue and red lights flashed through the trees. The officers guided them away. Before he got in the car, my father turned, staring through the window. His voice was low, venomous. "This isn't over, Meredith." The SUV pulled away. I slumped onto the couch, shaking with fear and relief. They had shown their true selves. Desperate people, losing control. Linda assured me a protective order would be filed. "They don't get to come here anymore," I whispered to the empty cabin. "They don't get to take anything else from me." The next morning, it was quiet. Completely quiet. No pounding, no buzzing, just a soft, pale light. Today was the formal legal meeting. Linda was sharp, focused. "Today," she said, "your family will learn the difference between entitlement and ownership." They arrived, my father vibrating with rage, my mother fragile, Madison looking jittery and nervous. Linda presented the evidence, every single document, every recording. My father's face crumbling, Madison's eyes wide with horror. My mother confessed, "She knew you would drain her dry like you drained me. Like you drained this family." My father stormed out, refusing to sign. My mother followed, crying. But Madison lingered. "I'm sorry," she whispered, truly, deeply. "I'm in therapy. I don't want to lose you." I told her, small steps. And she signed. Something inside me softened. Not much, but enough. It wasn't victory, not yet, but it was the moment before victory. The moment when surviving becomes reclaiming. The snow was melting on the cabin roof the morning I officially became free. Not metaphorically, but legally, irreversibly. My name, my identity, finally belonged to me again. I had an appointment that day. At a college campus. The academic advisor beamed, "You must be Meredith. Your essay was remarkable. You wrote about rebuilding your life from the ground up, about resilience, about finding your voice after years of being silenced." I was accepted into the psychology program. That afternoon, Madison returned to the cabin. Her posture was hesitant, not demanding. "I'm sorry," she said again, truly, deeply. I could see she was trying. Small steps, I repeated. We didn't hug, not yet, but the air between us shifted. Later, Cameron Price brought me dinner. "You seem lighter," he observed. "I am," I said. "You deserve that," he murmured. As he left, he said, "I'm proud of you, Meredith, for everything you walked through and everything you didn't let break you." That night, I sat by the fire. The Holts had said I wouldn't last a week without them. Turns out, I was never meant to belong to them in the first place. Walking away hadn't destroyed me. It had saved me. And as I whispered into the warm cabin air, I knew my life, my future, my peace, all of it belonged to me. Finally,